Hello, hello. Welcome to today's Fertility Friday Q&A. My name is Heather Rodriguez. I'm going to be answering questions about natural fertility today. So if you have any questions, you go ahead and put them in the comments. But I'd love to hear, how is everybody doing today on this glorious Friday? I feel like it's the Friday of all Fridays for some reason. All right, so I've got a couple of questions that people sent in ahead of time that I'll start with while you guys are coming in. You can go ahead and put any questions you have in the chat below. And if there's something that I can answer in this type of format, I will answer them. Sometimes some of the questions are just too complex to answer without asking the person more questions, so I can help support them the best I can. So good morning. Hey, Dawn, how's it going? Hi, Micah from Jamaica. That's awesome. All right, so one question I got was someone who is experiencing endometriosis, where do they start? So with endometriosis, there's a couple of different things going on. We want to definitely work on hormonal balance and excess estrogen, but we also need you to feel comfortable as soon as possible. So working on helping the body to reduce the inflammation, helping with the prostaglandins and that type of thing. So it's a multi-step approach to endometriosis, so that you're feeling better while we're working on the things that take longer time, like hormones. And that can be done through herbs, diet, different supplements and things. So it's definitely takes some time, but it's something that's really important to do ahead of time before becoming pregnant, so that you're a little bit more comfortable. Even though a lot of people, once they become pregnant, their endometriosis dramatically goes away because the hormonal balance kind of switches, because progesterone is so high that that's a time that they actually are in a lot more comfort. When do I recommend uterocalm? So uterocalm is something that's really nice for the 2-week wait. It's something that's nice when your uterus needs to be more in that receptivity mode, when you want to be more receptive for implantation to keep the tissues calm. So the herbs in uterocalm are known to be relaxing to the uterine tissues and tonifying. So that's something that it's good for. I do know a lot of women who are doing IUI, IVF, that kind of thing, and they're using it during that period of time in early pregnancy. All of those herbs have traditionally been safe for early pregnancy, but of course, check with your doctor or your practitioner you're working with. But they just help to calm those muscles in the uterus. What do I recommend for an absent period? So Aisha, that's a great question. There's so many different reasons someone might be missing periods. So we kind of have to take a step back and not just focus on what can we do to stimulate and make a period happen. So a lot of times some of the options end up being going on birth control so that you can create a period, but that's not really a period. So if you're not ovulating, you're not really having a real period. And it doesn't really matter if you're on birth control, but that's not really a fix. So there's a couple different reasons for absent periods. Nutritional deficiencies can be a big cause, such as iron deficiencies or other nutrients. If you're underweight, that can be another, not having enough calories, not having enough nutrients to produce hormones. Hormonal imbalances can cause absent periods, such as PCOS. There's a lot of other things that can be happening with that absent period. So we'd have to just kind of look at some other areas of your health in your life to kind of see what's going on. What's your diet like? What other signs do you have throughout the cycle or throughout the month? What happened before you lost your period? What kind of stress are you under? Stress can sometimes cause it. There's a lot of different reasons. So there'd be a lot of questions I'd have to ask. A good place to start. Hey, Santos. My dog's being super loud with his bone. A good place to start is with the 5 pillars of fertility health, to make sure you're doing something in every single one of those areas to help support your system. That will take care of a lot of kind of underlying mysterious things that are happening that are general foundational health steps. What are my thoughts on taking Waldiam supplement? So it's not something I work with a lot, not meaning that it's necessarily bad or doesn't work. There's just so many different options that I tend to, once I find what works for the people I'm working with, I tend to stick to that. So waldiam root is used a lot of times in the case where someone wants to increase progesterone. So the body has to take that waldiam root and then use that to then go on and produce progesterone. That's a very simplified explanation of that. Some people have seen success with it. It's just not something I really work with that often. I work a little bit more directly with progesterone, but also looking at why is progesterone not being produced. Doctor says I'm not ovulating due to low progesterone. How can I increase my progesterone? So because you're not ovulating, you have low progesterone. Progesterone is released because of ovulation. So we have to take a step back. Instead of looking at how you can increase your progesterone, how can we help your hormonal balance so that you're ovulating? So there's a lot of steps to that. It's all about hormonal balance. There's a lot of different reasons someone's not ovulating. Again, just like the period. So we'd have to look at what's your period like? What's your diet like? What's your lifestyle? Do you have breakouts? Do you have heavy periods? You know, all these different things will tell us your hormonal picture. So there's not one herb that I can tell you, hey, do this, and this is going to happen. We'd want to kind of take a step back and see what the body is saying to us so that we're able to know what is the next step to take. I know that's not the answer you wanted to hear. You wanted something super clear, but this is the truth. I have PCOD. I'm wondering if you're saying PCOS. And diabetic. How can I conceive from 7 years? I don't have any children. So the first place to start is through lifestyle factors. Diet is number one for PCOS. So really learning about helping to manage blood sugar levels. Majority of women with PCOS do have insulin resistance, especially if you're diabetic. That's like parallel. So lifestyle is going to be number one. You can't just add herbs on top of not managing the insulin resistance, because that's kind of where a lot of the imbalance is happening. Once that is happening, then you can add herbs, you can add all these other things. So it is a multi-step process. Now, to get you started with that, look at my IGTV, look at my YouTube. I have a couple of different videos that deep dive into insulin resistant, that deep dive into how to eat for PCOS. So watch those videos to go ahead and get started. All right, let's look over here at Facebook and YouTube. You guys have lots of questions. What about boiled vegetables? Are they good for the bowels if I have endo, or all raw better? I don't think it. So the thing with raw vegetables that's nice is they do have a lot of enzymes that helps the body to repair itself. The nice thing about cooked vegetables is they're easier to digest, and some of the components do need to be cooked, such as lycopene, to be released from the cells so your body can absorb them. So I don't think you really have to worry either way. I would just do a combination. So you're getting all the different benefits, because some of the antioxidants and things will get cooked out with heat, whereas some of the other components do need heat to be released. But also, what are you going to be most consistent with? I'm currently experiencing prolonged heavy menstrual bleeding with PCOS. It's going on 3.5 weeks. How do I safely get it stopped? So I would definitely check with your doctor, Deborah. Anytime that there's bleeding that's for that long period of time, I would definitely check with them to kind of rule out if there's nothing like polyps or something else that's possibly happening, just to be safe. And then kind of looking at, there's lifestyle factors that we'd have to look at. So you're just gonna, after you talk with your doctor, go ahead and reach out to me, and I can ask you some more questions, because that's not something I really want to encourage people to do without talking to their doctor first if you're bleeding for long periods of time. But reach out after you talk with them. Are chicken breast eggs good to consume? Yeah, those are great sources of protein. What's the best thing to increase fertility? If I had to pick one thing, it would be lifestyle factors. So focusing on the important 5 and not thinking that there's a miracle pill or cure, but that it's a lifestyle change in helping your body back to balance and health, so that your body's functioning as good as it can, as well as it can. And from there will come balance. That from there will become increased fertility, knowing that it does take steps and it does take consistency. So I guess the best thing to increase fertility would be consistency. How can you tell if the things you take, like Maca, Vitex, and other supplements, are not full of fillers or other added things? So buy from a company that you trust. A lot of brands on Amazon I do not trust, because as someone who manufactures supplements, it can be very easy to have a product created for you without using the regulations that are required here in the United States. So buy only from brands that you trust. Fertilica is a great one that you can trust. Is coconut sugar okay to have if you're cutting refined sugars for a fertility diet? So It depends on what your goals are. If you're someone who has to completely cut out added sugars, then I still wouldn't do that. I would do something more like stevia or monk fruit. But if you're able to have sugars, like that's not an issue for you because you're not experiencing blood sugar issues. Coconut sugar is a nice alternative, but it definitely still is sugar. All right, let's see what your questions are. All right, so if you guys have any fertility questions, you can go ahead and put them in the comments. Okay, yes, thank you. I've done the ultrasounds. They've ruled out endo, polyps, fibroids. It's determined that I am pre-diabetic and have PCOS. Do you do consultations? Yes, we do. You can go to Natural Fertility Info or naturalfertilityshop.com and click on consultations. That would probably be the best way to spend some time kind of exploring and getting a full picture of information so that we can help you the best that we can. What supplements are good for the 2-week wait? Yes, so you sent that question and that was a really good one. So most supplements and most herbs can be used all month long, and they will need to be used all month long in order to have the best benefits. But there are some, such as evening primrose oil, anything that's going to stimulate the uterus. That's very stimulating. So evening primrose oil you would use for a short amount of time. You would use that before ovulation, so that helps with cervical mucus. But there's really not a whole lot of things that you would quit during the 2-week wait. If you're taking, you would just quit once you're pregnant. So there's not, it doesn't really need to be that complicated. Yeah, Micah, I'm not going to answer your question. Is keto diet good to lose weight and trying to conceive? So I could talk about keto every single time that I do a live because it's so popular. So my thoughts on keto is I don't like to cut out food groups. I want you to be having lots of foods that are rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds. And a lot of that does come from fruit, which gets cut out with keto. We've been trying to get pregnant for a year and no luck so far. Any advice on how not to go crazy during 2-week wait? So it kind of depends on where you're at and what you're feeling. Sometimes at this point, it's a good idea to go ahead and ask, go get some testing done to see kind of what's going on to rule out some things. So generally that starts with an HSG, which is to see whether or not the fallopian tubes are blocked. You'll also have some hormone testing done to see what's going on, because it's really good to rule out some of these physical things that you may not be able to tell are happening because you can't really feel them. So that's, if you've been trying a year or more, that's generally when they suggest you go and start with some of that preliminary testing to see what's going on. Also, please, please, please also get a sperm test done. I talk with way too many women that are doing all the things and doing so many amazing things to support their fertility, but their partner has never had a sperm test done, but they haven't been able to get pregnant for a couple of years. So it takes two. The fertility issue can be with the man just as frequently as it can be with the woman. And there are steps you can take. So don't be afraid of more information. That just gives you more information on which way to go. Does raspberry leaf tea help with implantation? Not that I know of. No, I don't, not anything specific. Raspberry tea is something that helps to tonify and strengthen the uterus. So it's nice later on in pregnancy. It's very high in minerals. Are ovulation urine tests accurate for determining if you're actually ovulating? No, OPK tests have nothing to do with telling if you're ovulating. They're telling you if that is your fertile time and when you would be ovulating if you are. My favorite tool for actually confirming ovulation is going to be basal body temperature charting, fertility charting. It's called all kinds of things, where you take your temperature and you chart it every single day and you're able to confirm ovulation because the temperature changes and drops that happen and rises that happen afterwards because of progesterone being released. There's lots of tools you can use for it too, that can help you if taking your temperature is hard because of your schedule or you have trouble sleeping and stuff like that. There's lots of tools you can use as well. But a good place to start is fertilityfriend.com. They have free education on how to fertility chart. Any thoughts on moxa? Don, I don't really have a lot of opinions on it. I'm not a Chinese acupuncturist or anything like that. I've had it done before. I like the way it smells, but I'm just not the right person to ask because it's not something I really use or have experience with. I had surgery to remove a tiny amount of endo in December. Any extra supplements to add? Yes. So there's definitely things. So, okay, so someone has endo removed or someone has fibroids removed, right? There's something growing in the body. And sometimes people will think because they had it removed, they're all set now. They don't need to worry about it again. Well, you do need to consider why it was there in the first place and what factors stimulate its growth. So you're going to definitely want to take steps to reduce excess estrogen in your life, in your body, and in your environment. So that would be switching out your cleaners, removing xenohormones from your home, from your lifestyle. If that's something new to you, let me know. And I can send you my last class I did on xenohormones and how to remove them, but they're found in cleaners. They're found in the detergent you wash your clothes with, when you burn candles. Those types of things are made from plastics and they mimic hormones in your body just from inhaling them, just from absorbing it through your skin, small amounts day in, day out, right? So that's one aspect, is to remove xeno and excess hormones from your diet. That's a major one. A lot of people kind of ignore that just because it's not something that's like, oh, this makes me ovulate, or, it's not exactly as specific, but we have to remove the cause before we can truly address what's happening, because just doing stuff on top of that's kind of backwards. The next is to help the body to deal with metabolizing excess hormones. So you want to do something every day to support your liver. You also want to help the body in its natural ability to get rid of excess hormones. So fiber is important as well. There's other supplements that you can add at that point, for sure. So it also just depends on kind of how it presents itself and what your cycle and some other things are like. And then inflammation, reducing inflammation. All right. What's a good source to teach that method? It's very confusing. If you're talking about, so Fertility Friend is a good place to learn how to fertility chart. Prenatal multivitamins. I really like Mega Foods Prenatal. You can get it at naturalfertilityshop.com. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you had some of your questions answered. I look forward to speaking with you again next week. Have an awesome weekend, guys.